Hello guys, and welcome to a replay analysis. In today's replay analysis, we're going to be looking at a diamond level Zerg versus Terran on the worst map of the ladder pool called Golden Wall. Okay, this map is a fucking nightmare. My first tip to becoming better at StarCraft 2 is probably hitting the veto button on this map. It won't be in the next season, so learning this map now, you don't need to learn it because you got about 1 month left of this map and then it'll just be gone. Or maybe 2 months. I don't know when the new season's going to end. I can't remember. I didn't check. Oh yeah, it's already more than halfway over probably. So, yeah, anyways. Golden Wall, boys. We got a Golden Wall game, and Golden Wall games always look a bit weird. So we'll talk about what's going on here with Golden Wall. But yeah, Dead Baby Seal is going to be our subject today. Again, it is a replay analysis, and if you guys don't know how these work, basically what you do is you... what I'll be doing is I'll be looking at the person that we're inspecting today, and I'll help them get better at the game overall just by telling them things that they could do better or things they already do that are good. I basically give them a guide on how to improve at the game overall. So, let's do it, man. Let's do it. So far, I mean, it is ZvT. You have your Overlord going the right way.
Sorry, Dead Baby Seal. I'll save my stinky shit donation until after the replay analysis.
So we got an Overlord going to the natural. Checking out to see what's going on. It was, seems, thank you, man. And Ryan, thank you so much for the 10 good subs again. Much love, dude. Appreciate you. Alright, so I agree with where your Overlord's going. Your first Overlord, and I also agree with your second one's going. I do think you should be going like here, because you definitely want to check at the natural. You don't want to go straight into the main only. The natural's a big indicator as to what you see of investment from the Terran. It's easier to read that way. And yeah, your build's fine. You did like a 17, 18, 17. This is not bad. I do, however, I want you to stay here longer already. I would rather your Overlord stay here in front of your hatchery for maybe up until like 150 or something, or like 140. Just, I would want it to be like when the hatchery's like right about there. Like somewhere in that range, right about like 90% of the way done, or like 95% of the way done, then you move it out. And the reason why is because right now, here's the thing, here's the crazy thing. If this guy was proxy 2-raxing you right now, or proxy 4-raxing you or something, if he was just proxy raxing you, you're not going to see it with this first Overlord in time, because it's too far. Like, you'll never see it with your first Overlord ever. It's always too far across the map to see, like, oh, he's proxying me with your first Overlord. The only way you can check it with your first scout is if you send a drone to his base. So the second Overlord covers you from that shit, because right now, if this dude was building a bunker right there, you wouldn't know. Like, he could build barracks right here, and then he could run here and build a bunker as he builds Marines. And as your hatchery finishes, you would see a bunker that is probably like 75% of the way done, honestly. And there would probably be Marines as like approaching your hatchery as the hatchery finishes. Like, they'd be walking up the ramp. And then even if you pulled all your drones at that point, at that point, you would have a Terran who could have a bunker done. And then you're like, well, fuck. Okay, well, now the bunker's done. Now I really can't kill it. And here's the crazy thing as well. Ramps like this are all the same. Okay? They're all the same. And let me tell you something that's crazy about ramps like this. It's not even about the fact that you could have one bunker like right there. You could actually put 3 bunkers on this ramp. One where it is right now, another one like right there, and another one like right there. And it actually makes a full wall on the ramp, so that drones can physically not go down the ramp anymore, because they're literally walled out on the side of bunkers. And you could have Marines standing behind the bunkers that could not only cover the bunkers, that the Marines could never get attacked by a Zergling or a drone, but what they could do is they could stand there and cover the bunkers while they finish, and then he could load the bunker and kill your hatchery. So you kind of need to see shit like this. It's very important. So all it would take to fix this is leave your Overlord here longer, so you can 100% confirm that he's not doing that, because the only way he can do that is with time, because it takes a lot of time to do that. You have to have money. So if you saw one bunker go down, you could easily pull drones then and get your drones around his setup before he gets a full bunker wall off. And even if he does get a full bunker wall off, if your drones get pulled right away when the bunkers have just started, you could then overpower the bunkers before they're too far ahead, you know, before the production time is too far gone. So being able to deny that shit is a great way to not get yourself screwed over. But not having vision here at all, that is honestly a massive risk right now, and you could totally just lose the game right now. If this guy wanted to do a bunker proxy type cheese to you, he could just kill you right now. So keep that in mind. Leave, and like if you really thought about it, like what is the second Overlord going to accomplish for moving away so early? I guarantee from the angle you're sending it, it's going downwards. It's literally going down. So I bet you're probably going to leave it like right there or something. It's going to be on the outside of his base, and I bet it's just going to sit there until like 4 minutes. And it's going to sit there for probably like 40 seconds and do nothing because you don't want to send it in too early. So if this Overlord sat here for a little bit longer, it kind of eliminates that risk, and then it still does the same thing it's going to do either way. So yeah, definitely keep your Overlord near your natural because there's so many ways you can just die. It's because this is a humongous, like it's way too early to send it out. This is a big risk right now. This is so much unaccounted for time that is just darkness here. Like, you'd want to send it out now. The reason why you'd want to send it out now is because if the Overlord sent out now, the vision of the hatchery is going to finish and give you now vision of this area as the Overlord leaves, so you actually never lose vision of the area. That's the whole point. And then now it doesn't matter because your creep starts spreading, and you know, and now you're fine. Now the bunker block can't even really happen because as your creep spreads, bunkers can't even be placed there anymore. But yeah, that's just an unnecessary risk that you can get rid of if you just fix your scouting. Okay, now looking at this scouting, your Overlord is checking the natural. Now I would love it if it goes straight down right now. You already know there's a natural here, so I'd love it if you go straight down. We'll go back and look at your build in a second, but I'm going to look at your scouting for a little bit longer. Okay, you see a racks. You see nothing being produced out of the racks. Already, here's what this means. Already, I mean, he's got a command center almost done, so it means he went depot, racks, command center for the opening build so far. Then the second depot's finishing right now. It's being built. It literally is just about to finish. And you can see the SCV building it right now. So the fact that that's finishing, you already know what build order he did. He went depot, racks, command center, depot. But here's the crazy thing. Here's the big one. He's building nothing out of that barracks, which means he has zero intentions of killing your Overlord right now, because there's no Marines here. He also has zero intentions of building an add-on. The only way there could be an add-on here is if he made a tech lab really fast after the Reaper, because the add-on could then be done possibly. You haven't seen the add-on yet, obviously, but wait, hold on. What the fuck? There is an add-on being built on it. Why can't you see the lights lighting up? I'm just kidding. Let me go back. Hold on. Hold the phone. Let me see those lights. This skin is fucked up. That skin is actually very confusing. This is a skin. This is the... What's the skin called for Tyrador? I think it's called Tyrador. That skin's fucked up. The lights don't... Like, it like literally changes the whole building animation of the building. Like, what I was looking for here is these lights in the middle of the barracks. Like that light right there, this light right here, and this light right here. They're supposed to flash. They literally flash on, off, on, off, on, off. But this skin changes everything about how the building looks like it's producing something. So now what happens with this skin is there's little tiny like lights on the top of the barracks that it's much more subtle, but they're on up here, and there's a small subtle under the barracks like literally a bottom light under the bottom of the building that flashes very subtly. That looks so awkward. That is not like that is not something you can just see as quick as a normal barracks being lit up. It's very the traditional like standard barracks is way more obvious because these lights in the center flash on and off, and it's almost like someone's having a flashlight turn on and off in your face. It's way more obvious with the other non-Tyrador skins. Okay, well, never mind. I just learned something myself right there. Tyrador is kind of fucked up to scout properly. But yeah, but anyways, I'll say this. So I'm glad that you scouted further in. I'm glad that you actually confirmed what it is. Like, that makes me happy. So you actually, because if you would have just right there, if you would have just turned away and left, I'd have been like, well, you should have definitely maybe poked in and saw a little bit more, because you're not being pressured by a Marine right now. And you do see a reactor, and you also see a factory. Now, we've talked about this before. We have talked about this before many times on the channel, and we'll talk about it again right now. And the thing is when you have a reactor on a barracks paced at the same time as a factory. So if the build time of the reactor was, and the factory was like, let's say the factory is like right there. It's like on the the fourth box from being done, and the reactor is like right there. It's like the same thing. It's like 75% of the way done or something like that. If they were paced at the same times, I would say, okay, it makes sense that this is going to be lifted off and he's going to go Hellions. Now, with the fact that he went for a reactor super early, super quick reactor on the barracks, and now so he went literally for a Reaper, and then he went straight into a reactor. No Marines at all yet. What this probably means, what this build looks like already, what I would assume it is this looks like it's going to be a 2-1-1. So if I had to guess what this build's going to, and again, not everyone has to do every build exactly right, but for this build to now be efficient, because it's an expansion, and it's a quick reactor with a delayed factory, the only way this would now be efficient would be if there was like a second barracks down here or over here. There has to be a second barracks in his base somewhere. Like, this is going to be a 2-1-1 opener. Because if he's going to go Hellions with this, his Hellions are just going to be super delayed. He still could do that, but they would just be really late, so it's a really weak form of Hellions. So you should already be thinking, as you see this, okay, 2-on-1. You should be thinking to yourself, it's going to be a Marine pressure with maybe Stimpack. Like, it should have Stimpack, but yeah. Marine pressure is probably what he's going to do. And that should be hitting you around like 515, 520. And now I would say your Overlord should actually leave. And the reason why is because you should already know what he's doing. It's either weak Hellions or it's actually 2-on-1 because of the pacing of the reactor on the barracks to now the factory. It's not Hellion. This is not Hellion friendly. But if you keep scouting his base now, your Overlord's going to die. And you already know what you need to know. So this is now kind of an excessive scout, I would say. And now that you're committing your Overlord deeper into his base, this Overlord will die. And there you go. So you could have known that the Rax is there either way. It makes sense because of the reactor timing. It makes no sense for Hellions. There has to be a second barracks for that to be anything efficient. Because here's the crazy thing. If you think about what is efficient out of your opponent, which a 2-1-1 is definitely an efficient opener. That's a standard efficient opener. Or a 1-1-1 Hellion opener is an efficient way to go Hellions. But a 2-1-1 opener is efficient for an opener for Terran. And just by the reactor, all you have to worry about, this is the crazy thing about StarCraft 2. The only thing you have to worry about is what is efficient. So if this guy were to go Hellions and you were scouting deeper into his base to just be like, what are you making now? What else is here? Is there a second factory here or something like that? Are you going Hellions and is this just weird? It doesn't matter if someone does something that you don't realize that is inefficient. As long as you play efficient, efficiency beats everything that is not efficient. It really does. That is the exact reason why if you ever have someone who is like Masters League versus someone who is in like Gold League, they will never lose because that's literally the case of efficiency versus non-efficiency. That's all it is. It has nothing to do with like this player is just vastly superior. It's just because they know how to play efficient. That's all it is. So just by seeing his reactor timing, you already knew the only efficient thing that this could be would have been a 2-on-1. And if you just now play for a safer avenue of how you can deal with 2-on-1, which we'll talk about in a second, but if you just do that, you kind of expect 2-on-1, and if he just shows up with Hellions, it doesn't matter then because you're like, oh, you went Hellions? Or something like awkward that doesn't make any sense, you'll crush it every time. Because as long as you do something efficient, you'll easily crush it if it's inefficient of your opponent. So now, again, your Overlord's going to die now. So, I mean, you've fully confirmed what it is now. And, you know, you're going to supply block now probably for a moment, which kind of sucks. And you just waste the Overlord, unfortunately. But at least you know what he's doing. And now what's going to happen behind this? This is what's going to happen behind this. This is how 2-on-1s go, okay? The factory, as soon as it's done, he's going to make a starport, and as soon as he has enough gas to make a reactor on the factory, he'll make that. And then it's the same exact thing where now the factory making a reactor finishes, and he lifts off the starport, and he swaps it, and then he lands the starport on the reactor, and then he makes 2 medevacs at the same time. That is how 2-1-1 operates. But you already know it's 2-1-1 based off the first barracks. So this tells you so much information. And there's going to be a second gas here. That should already be started. Okay, so the fact that he doesn't have a second gas, this is now inefficient. The fact that he has 2 racks, 1 gas. This means that this dude is not, like, you, and here's the thing. You shouldn't even have seen this because your Overlord should have gotten out of there and you would have been fine. But already now that he doesn't even have a second gas, this tells me that this guy doesn't really know how to do a 2-on-1. And here's why. This is how the build actually goes. You have to go, like, you know, depot racks with gas, and then your command center, your first gas and your command center. You make a Reaper, that's fine. You can make a Marine, 1 Marine, or you can just make the reactor right away. Going straight reactor is a little bit scarier. It's a little greedier. Because if you send the Reaper across the map and then Lings run around the Reaper and come over here and deny the natural, that can suck pretty bad. So the Marine definitely helps with that. But, and also the Marine helps at getting rid of the first scout if you make a Marine right away. But anyways, the point is you're supposed to go second racks as like you start the reactor. And then you make the factory once you have enough gas from making the reactor. Because if you go Reaper, Marine, Reactor, you're not going to have 100 gas sitting there. So you have to wait for a moment to get 100 gas to then make the factory, which is what it costs. And right as you start the factory, you are supposed to start a second gas. Because this is the only way you can afford Stimpack and a reactor and a starport to then go double medevac. That is the only way you can afford this. So the fact that he now does not have double gas, I would say that you should not expect your opponents to play poorly like this. You should just expect them to play efficient as you go higher and higher in skill levels. But now that you've scouted that he is playing inefficient, I would say you don't have to react to 2-on-1 properly anymore. You can be greedier. Like, this is not a 2-on-1. This is definitely inefficient. So you can do something greedier because you don't have to play safe anymore. So the Overlord dying could actually net you a bigger gain because your opponent's playing poorly. If that makes sense. Like, you can now do a greedy reaction because he's doing something inefficient, which is actually better than having your Overlord die. But in general, your Overlord should have just scouted something that looks standard, and then you lose your Overlord for nothing because you already know he's playing standard. That's what should have happened, but yeah, him not having a second gas is pretty bad. Because again, a 2-on-1 drop should be hitting you with 16 Marines, 2 medevacs, and Stimpack between 5 minutes and 5:15. That is a 2-on-1. That is what a 2-on-1 is. And this guy is not doing that anymore. You can already tell he's not because he only has 1 gas. So now let's go back to your build. Now you kind of know, but at least you know he's opening 2-on-1 to a degree. It's just kind of a weird version of it. But now let's go back to your build. Let's look at your build for a second and make sure your build's not really, really weird. Okay, so you have, yeah, 17, 18, 17, pretty standard. We already got past this point. We'll kind of skip through it to the next part. You have an Overlord starting. You have a drone starting. I would say one thing I want you to alter your build with. One thing I want you to do, if you're going to go Speedling expand styles like this and you're going to go for a third, I want you to actually make the 20th drone before you make your Overlord. So I want you to, I don't want you to go 19 Overlord. I want you to go 20 Overlord. And what I want you to do with that 20th drone, I want you to rally that drone. Instead of rallying it to your natural, I want you to rally that 20th drone to your third base. Wherever you're going to take a third at, rally it there. And the reason why is because watch your Overlord right now that is scouting across the map. Watch the mini-map right here. Look at the mini-map. Ready? Watch the mini-map right now with the Overlord right there. Look for the red dot that crosses. Or the blue dot, whatever. You see that dot that's crossing? It's a Reaper. Now, the thing I'm going to tell you is if you wait too long on your drone scout, there is a chance his Reaper might catch your drone as it goes for the third base, which means you might not be able to take your third before the Reaper gets there. But if you send your 20th drone to the third base, you will always get there before the Reaper can fuck you over, and you will never supply block because the natural gives you supply if you delay the Overlord just a little bit. Just a little bit. So it increases your chances of getting a properly timed third. Now, I'm not telling you to take the third right away. What I would tell you to do instead is maybe send the drone like right there. Send the drone like behind the middle, like hide it behind the middle line just for a moment while you make your queens and you make your lings, and you start up the standard version of the build, and then your drone's already here, and then you take your third. Because if you try to send your drone out to take your third when you don't have speed yet, because you never will at this point, and the Reaper's sitting like right there, the Reaper could literally just be like, you know what I'm going to do? Delay your third. And I'm just going to sit here all day and deny your third over and over and over and be really annoying. And no Zerg really wants to deal with that. It kind of sucks. Okay, so you got speed started. That's fine. I don't mind it. You took 2 drones off gas as well when you started speed. Your third should be starting like right now, though. Your third should start around 2:30. Honestly, 2:30 should be your third base. So the fact that you aren't starting a third, your third's very delayed. Also, you don't want to go double inject either, right? Okay, you didn't. That's good. I'm glad you didn't, but you should actually reverse this. You should reverse this where the main injects and the natural has the tumor going to the third base. You want your third base to be able to be defended way earlier because your natural is going to saturate really fucking fast. Your natural is going to saturate super fast. And that means that if you're going to do an efficient build, you're going to want to saturate your third base really fast. And if your creep spread is super late at going to your third, it's going to be way harder to defend your drones at your third base. So you want your creep as soon as possible to go towards your third so that you can actually defend your third with queens and lings. Otherwise, you're very vulnerable to like Hellion builds. So always do tumor at the natural first, going towards your third. But yeah, your third base is like a full half a minute so far delayed already. Yeah, your third base was 37 seconds late, I would say, roughly. About 37 seconds late. So it's very, because here's the problem now. This is why this is a problem. Your natural is going to be fully saturated, and you're going to have nowhere to send drones to now. If you make drones, which you should be making drones. So it might make you think, well, I should be making lings now, just a lot of lings now. Or I should be taking gas now. And neither of those are correct. You should make a safety lings. Sure, that's fine. You should make, like, you made the safety lings already against a Reaper. This is always going to happen against Terran. But if you scout someone who goes for a 2-1-1, you do not need to make safety lings as how you would deal with Hellions, because this is not Hellions. This is 2-1-1. However, if you were dealing with Hellions, you would need to make safety lings against Hellions. And how do you know how to make safety lings against specific things? Hellions attack a lot faster than 2-1-1 does. A 2-1-1 shows up, if it's perfectly done, around 5 minutes to 5:15. Hellions can show up. If he opened up Hellions right away, he could show up at your base with 2 Hellions by honestly like now. So with Hellions, and as they grow 2, 4, 6, 8, whatever, a great time to take lings is when your speed is at like 65 to 70 seconds, when it's like almost done. When you know your speed is almost done, when the upgrade is again like 90% or so, that's when you want to make maybe another like 10 Zerglings to deal with Hellions. So you go from like 4 to like 14, or like 4 to like 16. Make like 10 or 12 lings when your speed's almost done. That way when your speed finishes, your lings pop out, and if he does a run by of 4 Hellions at that point, which is what he would have at that point, if he dives your base with 4 Hellions, which some Terrans do that shit, where they're like, YOLO, kill drones, you would have a good chunk of lings to be able to catch them as he tries to enter your mineral line. So that's good safety lings for anti-Hellion. But you know he's not going Hellions right now, you know he's 2-1-1, so safety lings against 2-1-1, you don't actually start making lings until around like 4:20. And why is that a big deal? Why do you want to blaze up like that? Because the timing of a Terran's 2-1-1 hits you at 5 to 5:15 if it's done well. So if you make lings at like 4:20, you have time to make a good amount of lings for the next like 40 seconds or so. That'll give you like, let's say like 24 lings or like 30 lings or so that will be able to hold a 2-1-1. And you'll be okay, especially if you pair that with queens. So if you make lings really, really safe really early against 2-1-1, it makes no sense because you're not going to get attacked anyways for like the next 2 minutes. Which is like, if you made lings the next like 10 seconds, that's way too early. You should be squeezing out drones in this time frame. But now again, watch. If you make drones, look at your natural. It's already at 11 drones on it, and your third base is barely started. So you're going to oversaturate. Which is not super efficient in itself anyways. And then your supply block too, because your Overlord died, so that kind of sucks. So it also delays your drones a little bit in production. And then look at your third. It's halfway done now, and you're done on saturating this base. You're fully saturated here. So this is now that moment where it's like, well, shit. Every drone you make from here, if you just rally to the third, it's just gonna be long distancing. When if you ideally if you made this shit like 37 seconds sooner, it would be finishing like right now, like maybe like 5 seconds ago or something, and all these drones you're making now would be able to go to the third properly. So definitely take your third a little faster than you did. Like 230 is roughly when you want to take it. That's around 30 supply. 28, 30 supply, somewhere in there. And see how you're taking gas now? This is too early on the gas. That gas is too early. Ideally, what you want to do, if you're going to go for a speedling expand, you do not want to take gases 2 and 3. And you're doing this because you're not even done with the third yet. I literally thought this was what was going to happen. You do not want to take these 2 gases at your natural until your third base has like 8 drones on it. This is way too early on your gas. What's going to happen now? Watch your supply, okay? Or watch your resources. You are going to have a lot of gas. You're not going to have enough minerals to properly spend your gas, and you're going to have a lot of gas. The only way you're going to be able to spend your gas properly is if you make like a shitload of banelings, and then it's going to be a moment where it's like, well, you're overcommitting to defense when you don't need to go that crazy into it. So what I see happening is you're going into too big of a gas investment too fast, and you don't have enough of a mineral investment. Because here's also what this does to you. If you take gas way too fast, what does that do to you? It incentivizes you to spend that gas. And what are you going to spend gas on? You're probably going to spend gas on upgrades. You're probably going to spend gas on like Hydras or Banelings or Mutas or something like this. And these things will all set you too far behind, because what you're supposed to actually do is I'm just going to throw it out there and say, let's just say hypothetically, you're going to go not Muta. Muta's a bit tough. But let's just say you're going to go Hydra Ling Bane, which is the easier version of it. Let's say you're a Hydra Ling Bane guy. You should not actually be making Hydras until you're like at 120 supply. Legitimately. You should be relying purely on Queens, Zerglings, and some Banelings if you get attacked. If you do this kind of a style. Especially if your opponent's going bio. If your opponent was going mech, you could have made a Roach Warren as well, and that'd be fine. And you could rely on Roaches, that'd be great. But if he's going to go bio and you want to make Ling Bane, you should not actually be making the tech unit until you're you're already fully saturated. Like if you start making, for instance, if you make a Hydrogen when this layer finishes right away, that's way too fucking fast. The only thing you should start when this layer is done is Baneling speed, and that is it. You should not start 1-1. You should not start Hydras. You should not start Mutas. You should literally just make Bane speed, drones, and Zerglings. So you can have a good saturation, because Ling Bane Queen will fucking defend everything. You're just going to gimp yourself with your economy if you take your gas way too fast. And go for all the tech stuff right away. And also, the only reason why Bane speed is as a mandatory upgrade is because if you get hit by a siege tank timing at all, if your Terran decides, you know what I'm going to do? Fucking siege tanks with a bio timing. If you do not have Bane speed, you'll probably die. That's like a mandatory upgrade. But yeah, your drones are way too late. Like, look at your third. So the pacing of what you want to be hitting is 66 drones. This is also very fair, by the way. I always say this, but because it's a very fair number to hit. If you can go to 66 drones by 6 minutes, your build is paced pretty well for a standard game. You could have been greedier this game because your opponent did a very awkward 2-on-1. This is a very delayed 2-on-1. He is not going to be hitting you by 5 to 5:15. If he's going to do a Stimpack bio timing, he is going to hit you instead by probably 6 minutes. Or like 6:15, because that second gas was so fucking late. So you could have actually hit your saturation of 66 drones by even earlier than 6 minutes. But let's see what you hit by 6 minutes. We'll get there eventually. I bet you're probably going to be like at 52 with the pacing of how you're going. Now your layer is done. What are you going to do here? You're making a shitload of Lings. At this point in time, I think the fact that you're making Lings now is not that bad. Only because you're getting ready to deal with what you think is a 2-on-1. It is delayed, though, as we talked about already. So I think you could have maybe delayed. If you would have known that. So if you didn't lose your Overlord and you didn't scout it all the way, I would have agreed with how you made your Lings like this. But because you scouted that his 2-on-1 is super fucked up and it was super delayed, You could have delayed your lings a little longer. You could have maybe squeezed like one more wave of drones out and then made lings. So started making lings maybe like 450 because you would have been fine. He is not going to attack you at 5 to 5:15. I guarantee he attacks you at 6 minutes. For all the reasons we talked about his build, why it's fucked up. So, anyways, the amount of lings you have now, though, and the fact that now you're going back into drones, I think you made a good, healthy number. So the amount you're making is good. Like, you made like 6 Banes. You made probably like 30 lings. Right now, you already have 14, and you're making another 12. So you're going to go to 26. That's totally fine. That's a great number. That's healthy. Again, watch your income. You're not taking nearly as much of the lead as you should be because your build's a bit inefficient. Like, your third still has not had saturation yet. This bad boy should be fully saturated already on the mineral line. Already fully saturated. And you know what this does? What are you using to defend this timing with? Ling, Bane, Queen, and what is it on the and when we're talking about Bane specifically, it's very light on the Banelings. So the point is here, you have way too much gas, way too fast. And these gases have barely done anything for you up to this point already as well. But the big problem is this is literally 8 fucking drones worth of gas. 2 drones to make the assimilators, or the extractors, and then it's 6 to saturate them. So this is 8 drones that could have been mining minerals here a lot earlier. You're using basically pure minerals to defend yourself. Because again, it's Queen Ling and a couple Banes. And now the only way you're going to spend this gas now, at this point, once your gas starts really getting underway, is if you make a lot of Banes, or if you make your tech really fast, before you even have saturation here. So your build is already falling apart really hard right now. And you're also, at this point now too, I think you're going kind of crazy on your, at this point now you're going a little bit too crazy on your Ling production. And look, what I'm talking about, remember what I said? He probably won't hit you till 6 to 6:15. A full minute late because his build was fucked up. He should have already been attacking you if this was a standard 2-on-1 by 5 to 5:15. Anywhere in that window of time. The reason why there's a range there, by the way, if anyone's like, ViBE, I don't understand. Why is it not always 5:07? Or why is it not always 5:10? And here's the answer to that question. Not every map is identical with distance between bases. Some maps are closer than others, which is the 5-minute mark, and some maps are longer than others, which is more towards the 5:15 mark. And then you have maps in between somewhere. Not every map has the same distance between bases. And this map would be on the 5-minute mark if you would have literally loaded up right here and went straight to your main base. That is a very short distance to go main to main because the way that this map is designed. So if he would have dropped his Marines like right here or like right here in your main base and he just would have went for it, 5 minutes is probably what you'd have been looking at. Like a really fucking fast one. But now if it's a map where it's like corner to corner, where let's say his main's down here and your main's way the fuck up here, more like 5:15. Because it's a little bit of a longer distance the medevacs have to travel. But you're making way too many lings now. This is excessive. You're starting to fall into this trap where you're never going to really be ahead of Terran. Because if I go to the income tab now, you're probably going to have a very similar SCV count to drone count. Yeah, you're 6 ahead right now. At this point, and again, 66 by 6 minutes is what I want you to be at. You're at 44 right now. And I quoted you probably be at like 52. That's what I said, right? Something around 52 by 6 minutes. And that's kind of the pacing you're hitting yourself for right here. You're playing way too conservative. Like your gas is way too fast. Your droning is way too slow. And you're making, at this point now, you're making a little bit too many lings. Because here's the big misconception for Zerg, and now you're going into lings again. You're playing with too much insecurity in your gameplay. If you are gonna make lings and you're gonna make drones, and then you go, okay, I'm making lings. He's not attacking me. Okay, I'll make drones. Okay, I'm getting scared again. I'm gonna make lings. Okay, he's still not attacking me. I'm gonna make drones. Just know that that is the completely incorrect way to play Zerg. You never want to play Zerg like that, ever. What you want to do when you play Zerg is you want to get as many drones as you can before his timing hits you, and then when you know you need to make lings, you switch gears and you go full unit production. You then make only lings because you know he's going to attack you. You don't make like 5 drones and then 20 lings and then 4 drones and then 7 lings and then 6 drones and then 10 lings. You don't go back and forth because all that's going to do is give you a very slow paced build. That's all that does. You want to make as many drones as you can to a certain checkpoint, and then you want to slam units out as you need them. As you are getting ready to deal with the timing, You then, if you then kill the timing, you then go back into making drones again, and then you have this fat lead, because the whole concept of Zerg, the whole idea of Zerg is get to the healthy number of drones as fast as you can, and then you make nothing but units from the whole rest of the game. The rest of the game is literally the units. You don't want to take forever to get to your drone count, because it'll make you max very fucking slow. Sorry, I had to turn AC on. This room's getting really fucking hot right now. So yeah, the fact that you're going back and forth like this is really bad for you. And at 6 minutes, you have 50 drones. This is really slow. You're 16 drones down what you could have been if you still played safe. Like, you know, standard. And it's because look at this third base. We're at 6 minutes and you still only have 7 drones on this mineral line. You could have had 8 drones on this mineral line by like 4:30. And have you done anything with gas yet? No, you haven't. All you're doing now is you're making an absurdly excessive amount of banelings. This is what I'm talking about with why you took gas too fast. I'm actually really glad you're not making a Hydra Ling yet, or a Spire or anything like that. But at 6 minutes, you actually should be making your tech, because you should be fully saturated on your bases. You want to throw down your Spire, your Hydra Ling, your Evo Chambers for upgrades and tech units. You want to throw those down once you actually have a good economy. But it's taking you forever to get a good economy this game, because you're playing really, really gas heavy and conservative. Way too safe on the units. And look, he's attacking you between 6 and 6:15. He's showing up right now at 6:15. We knew this because this build is very inefficient. Both of your builds this game are inefficient. And we explained why both of them are. You took gas way too fast, and you're super delaying your third base saturation. He never took gas at all. He took gas way too late. So his timing is late as fuck. And now you're not just gonna win this fight. You are going to fucking obliterate this fight, because you made way too much shit here. Like, that was overkill. The amount of units you had the first time, I was like, oh yeah, 26 Lings and 6 Banes. That's more than enough. That's great. You're gonna be totally fine against a 2-1-1. And you started making those units at like 4:20 again, or 4:30. But look at this. How many units do you have now? You have 11 Banes. One of them just detonated as well. And this is after a couple of units died for you with his Marine shooting you. But you have 11 Banes still and 48 fucking Lings. You have like double what you need. So this is excessive overkill here. You just manhandled the shit out of his army. And what are you going to make now as well? Like, you should definitely be making drones. And I would say this too. Around 6 minutes, you should also start getting the habit. If you are not really confident about reading a build, like, here's one thing you should be doing: having a Zergling at his third bases. Also, try to have a Zergling like running at the ramp, seeing what he has at his ramp. And like, what if you did run at his ramp? What would you see? You would see a third command center, and you would see a tank and more Marines. So look, it looks like he's going tank Marine, right? You're like, oh, it looks like he's going tank Marine. But again, at 6 minutes, you should already be fully saturated, and you should be now getting ready to take your fourth base and your tech units. So you're going for a Hydra Ling. You should already be getting into the fact that you're getting ready to go Hydras. Another thing you can do that's really nice is around 6 minutes, you could be making an Overseer, and you could throw an Overseer through his base. That way, in case what's happening right now happens to you ever, where the guy's like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do a really awkward 2-1-1 timing, and then I'm going to do a tech switch. And you want to know? So, like, you can figure out things like that are weird. And I'm going to tell you right now, this guy's build is weird because his build is very awkwardly paced. That timing should have hit you a full minute faster than it did. So, what the fuck is happening with his build? Why is it weird? Like, what? Like that when someone does something that is awkward, that is when it comes time to scout them again, because it's very awkwardly paced. It makes sense to scout them because you're like, why is your build just fucking weird right now? Like, are you just like, do you just not know how to do it? Or are you doing something weird and different? And apparently this guy wanted to go for a really fast third command center and then a really quick double fucking tech labbed fusion core after his 2-1-1, which could be why his build is paced weird. Like, maybe he puts less emphasis on the 2-1-1 drop by making it be delayed so that he can have more money because he takes gas slower. Maybe his third command center comes faster as a result of this. And then as a result of that, having a delayed gas, he then explodes his gas after he takes his third command center and goes switching gears into crazy fast double battlecruiser transition. Like that is not standard, but that is definitely something that can be done if you do something that is awkward like this. So doing like a 6-minute overseer scout would be a great final scout for Terran, for you to do against Terran, to tell you what they're actually committed to. Are they actually going bio? Are they actually going to go mech? What the fuck is their follow-up to whatever their opener was? I'm going to tell you right now, at 6 minutes, every Terran who can play a decent game, we're talking Diamond Plus, every Terran who can play a game that is not incredibly awkward, like if you're listening to me right now and you're bronze, silver, gold, or platinum, what I'm about to say does not apply to you, okay? Don't even worry about it. But if you're Diamond Plus, people can actually play somewhat standard games, which means scouting at 6 minutes is going to tell you probably what they're going to do. It has a good indicator as to what their follow-up is going to be. And if you would have scouted at 6 minutes, look what you'd have seen in this game. Let's just say your overseer starts scouting his base like right at 6 minutes. Right now. Let's say an overseer is like right here. And it's getting ready to fly into his base. You would see Tech Lab Starport, Reactor Factory, and then as you fly further into his base, you would see Tech Lab Starport again and Fusion Core. And you know what this looks like now? This looks like mech. He's now going double battlecruiser Hellion production with a single reactored barracks. This looks like, and his barracks isn't even producing anything right now. This looks like a Terran who's switching into mech. 6 minutes is always when they're going to make their choice as to what the fuck their follow-up is going to be. All the time. Also, if you had Ling scouting the front of his base too, you would have been able to have seen that he has a third command center because he built it right in your face. So here's the thing too. If you can ever scout a third command center, if you ever see a third command center, that tells you that this is another indicator that tells you that the amount of Lings that you made when I said you were safe against a 2-on-1, that's a great number to have. And then you can easily saturate your bases all the way to fully saturated 66 by 6 minutes. Because if you knew he had a third command center before he did his timing to you, and you're like, oh, you invested in a third CC, this is not an all-in, it's just a harass. And the amount of Lings you made here is like you're defending an all-in. This is a lot of fucking units. You're making the amount of Lings that you would have needed to have made if instead of making a third command center, and instead of doing a tech swap transition, if this guy would have done a 2-1-1 into like 3 more racks, and he would have gone for like 5-1-1. So like 5 racks, 1 factory, 1 starport. And he goes for a fucking all-in, basically. He just does 2 base timing pressure, and he parade pushes it across the map. You reacted to something like that with the amount of units you're making here. So scouting for that third base is really helpful too, to tell you it's not all-in, it's just a harass. And then from here, like I said before, you're falling really far behind. Yo, Meet Tornado 87. Thank you very much, dude, for the tier 1 sub, man. Welcome to the stream. Much love. You had me at Meet Tornado. That's what all of his friends called him in gym class. 87's probably his birth year, so he's my age. Maybe he even went to my school. Who knows? But Meet Tornado probably was in the locker room, and he's like, guys, you want to see a tornado? And everyone's like, what do you mean? And he just starts swinging his hips. All right. Now, back to you, Dead Baby Seal. Okay? Back to you, dude. So, your drone saturation's really, really, really slow. Really under par. Don Carlos, thank you for the 2-year resub commitment, man. Thank you. Welcome to the 2-year club. Much love, man. And 1987 club representing. Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah, it's a good year. Now he's got 2 BCs in your base. Now this is just due to a lack of scouting at all. You don't know what the follow-up is to what he was doing. And this is also a 7-minute, 30-second battlecruiser timing. Now I'm going to tell you something right now. The fact that your Hydras are starting at 7:30 is really fucking late. These Hydras could have totally been started at 6 minutes. Or like, okay, that's not true. That's not true. The build time of a Hydra is like 30 seconds, right? It's 29 seconds. The Hydras could have actually, sorry, so the Hydras could have actually been started at like 6:30 because you're going to start the Hydra din at like 6 minutes. So you could have made Hydras about a full minute before them when you're making them. You don't want to make a Hydra din before you fully saturate with a diamond level build. Again, we're not talking about platinum. We're not talking about gold. Nothing below this. We're talking about diamond. We're talking about efficiency. And if you scout something that is, you know, if you're going for a build that is mineral focused, you can defend yourself with queens, zerglings, and banelings. Don't forget that fact. That is literally can defend anything that is harass based. If you're going for this style. If you scouted really fast reactor Hellions, you could have opened up with a Roach Horn. That would have been fine too. But you scouted a 2/1/1 bio opener. Ling Bane was a great choice. I agree with it. That was amazing. But the pacing of how you did everything was very behind, as we talked about already. We already described a lot of it. But you should, right now, already be at a point where you already could have a good amount of Hydra. Because you should have already had the Hydras been started at like 6:30. And also, here's the crazy thing too. If you would have scouted, here's how the build should have gone. If you scouted a 2/1 with a third base follow-up, you can make enough lings to defend the drop, which was what you already had when I commented on earlier, the 24 lings and the 6 banes. That could defend the 2/1 drop. You saturate all the way to good drone count, and you saturate all the way to a good drone count by 6 minutes, and if you defend the drop as well, and he loses Marines in the drop, okay? If he actually loses the units in the drop, which is exactly what happened, because he lost his Marines when your Banelings connected to them. He literally threw his Marines away. If that happens, and you see a third command center, there is nothing stopping you from sitting on those units that you still have that after you killed his drops, and you saturate your drones all the way to 80. Like, what can stop you? Literally, what stops you? Nothing does. Because he opened up with a 3-base build and he lost his harass. So all that is, at that point, to go from 66 to 80 drones, that's one more inject wave. That's it. It's just one inject round, which is 30 seconds. 30 seconds of making drones. So from 6 minutes to 6:30, not only do you make a Hydra Den, but you also killed his drop already, of his harass. You then saturate your mineral line from 6 minutes to 6:30, from 66 to 80, or like 84 or whatever. And then at 6:30, you are now done saturating your bases, and you now explode in Hydra Ling Bane. And from 6:30 to 7:30, which is a full minute later, you could have had Hydras easily in time to defend this. And you could have probably had at least like 15 of them. Now, to do this properly, if you go Ling Bane Hydra, I would say ideally you want to stop around 20 Hydras. Go to 20 Hydras and stop. And I would say it's very fair if you had 4 base saturation that you could have had about 15 Hydras at that point already, guaranteed. And then you could have been going towards 20. But then you're like, oh shit, BCs? What the fuck? And if this is assuming you didn't even scout the BCs. You still would have had enough Hydras to defend it because you would have been playing efficient. Your build is very behind pacing, which is why you don't have any Hydras right now. It's just under par. You're behind your pacing. So now this is a big problem for you. And you're like, well, okay, this is now scary, and things are different. Now, on top of that, if you would have scouted, oh, wow, he's going for a mech transition, you could go beyond 20 Hydras if you wanted to. You could also do something like maybe make an infestation pit faster and go into like Hydra Swarm Host or something good like that. And that'd be great. Because then now if you know you're playing against a mech Terran going BCs, you could go Corruptor, you could go Hydra, those are fine. You could go into Swarm Host, that's fine. You could just play the game of never letting the Terran take a 3rd base. Never let him take a 3rd base. And if you're on 4 bases and you keep him contained on 2 bases, you're going to win that game super fucking fast. So again, your build is falling apart because you're under pace. And now if you're ever, the way StarCraft 2 works is if you ever fall behind the pacing, everything that hits you beyond that point is going to make you fall further behind the pacing, and it's going to feel like you're playing the game of catch-up all the time. It's just going to feel ridiculous. So if these BCs get into this base right now, I imagine they're going to fuck you up pretty bad because you have no queens, and you also have no Hydras. You're probably going to take a lot of damage here. This is going to hurt pretty bad. And you're shit spawning into death. He's killing drones like crazy right now. And obviously this is not really how you want it to be going. This is a little unfortunate for you. Okay, so he actually targets the hatchery and he lets both his BCs die. That's very fortunate for you. That's lucky that happened for you. But I would say during that, what did you make? Okay, what did you should definitely be making drones during that. So you have Hydras. You have Hydras already. You made a few more to deal with the PCs. I would love it if you make drones again. You're making drones again. This is good. This is definitely a mistake by the Terran to let them die like that. But I'm glad you're at least remaking drones. But look at your drone count right now. This is something, again, he pulled you under pacing, under par, and now look at the drone count. I bet you're either tied or maybe even behind the Terran in workers. Okay, Terran is actually not making SCVs. He's actually not making SCVs at all right now. So, I mean, that's fortunate for you that he also is not really making workers, but yeah. Your build, pacing-wise, you're still doing a good job versus the Terran in this game specifically, but in general, for Zerg, you're definitely behind where you should be. Like, none of this shit should even happen to you. You should have definitely been pacing a bit faster with all the things we talked about. It's because you were in that phase of overcommitting, of going, I don't know what to do right now. Lings. Fuck it, we need drones again. He hasn't attacked yet. Make more Lings. Yeah, okay. But I still need to make drones. Go to drones again. Okay, well, he hasn't attacked me still, though. Make Lings again. Like, you did that for like a full minute and a half, and I was definitely fucking you over pretty bad. And that is what started your pacing of falling apart. And then also the gas being way too fast. Those things definitely fucked you. Like, look at he's a full planetary here, and he hasn't even saturated one SCV here yet. So he's definitely missing the beat too in terms of economy. But yeah, if you just make Roach Hydra, Pure Hydra, Swarmos Hydra, something like Ling Bane Hydra. I would say Ling Bane Hydra is probably not the go-to thing you want to go for anymore as much if he's going to start going mech. But yeah, even if you did go Ling Bane Hydra, you could still beat inefficient mech with efficient Ling Bane Hydra. That is very real. That is a very true thing. So now at this point, I want you to hit ideal saturation. See how you're making 24 Lings right now? The fact that you're making 24 Lings right now, I completely disagree with, because the Terran player, he lost his bio drop early on in the game, and you didn't react within a drone explosion. You have map control. You did not react with drones. He just lost his BCs, and you lost drones, and you remade the drones that died, but you did not drone explode and make more drones again. You can make drone explosions. The more hatcheries you have to be injected, the faster you can have drone explosions because you have more larvae to work with, and you're not exploding your drone count because your drone count is still sitting under par of what it should have been at by 6 minutes, and it's 9 minutes and 14 seconds in the game right now. You are very under par right now of where you should be. And every time this guy gives you map control by throwing his army away, you don't take advantage of that. You need to start taking advantage of that. If your opponent harasses you with something, if your opponent expands, that's a drone window. And if your opponent harasses you and then loses those units, that is another drone window. And if those two things pair together, that is a big drone window. So this guy took a third base and he threw his BCs away, and then you make a bunch of Lings. Thank you very much. Thank you, man. So you got to definitely take advantage of the drone windows a lot more. You're definitely not doing it as much as you should be. And yeah, from this point on, we're gonna speed it up a little bit because you're still cranking out crazy amounts of Lings, and then you're slowly adding on drones here and there. What you're doing to yourself right now by not taking advantage of map control drone windows is you put yourself into an all-in. And this is what so a lot of people out there, they're like, ViBE, an all-in is basically when you have no other choice but to attack. That's it. That's what an all-in is. You have to attack. Like, you're fully committed to it. But you're putting yourself into an all-in. You really are, because you're not taking advantage of your side of the map. You're not taking advantage of the macro game. What you're doing instead is you're freaking out and you're making a ton of units, and you're putting yourself in a position where you have to attack now because you've made so many fucking units before you needed them. And then it's also, to elaborate further on that, you are putting yourself in a position where if you don't deal a lot of damage to your opponent, you are behind, which then you are actually all in now because you have no choice, and you're like, well, I'm going to die now because I have to make something work here or I'm dead. The more units you make and then go back into making drones, the longer it takes you to saturate, the slower you build up, the less your bank is really able to be utilized. All these things. It puts you into a situation where you have to be able to kill your opponent or you're fucked. So try to not do that to yourself. It's really bad. Because if you make all these units that you're making and you just sit there on them, like see how you're sitting on them now and now you're making drones again? And you're freaking out about, it's because you're freaking out about stuff like this where you're like, ViBE, this is why I have to do it though. Because my opponent can attack at any time. But he couldn't attack at any time. He's attacking at 10 minutes. And when did you kill those battlecruisers? 7:50? 8 minutes? He teleported your base at like 7:30. Right? And you get rid of them by maybe like 8 minutes. Maybe like 8:10. I'm going to tell you, you kill them by like 8:12 or some shit. Each 30 seconds that goes by, if you spit your larva, and if you spit your injects properly, which you're not injecting at all right now, all your queens are kind of just like Ramboing. And these are things that will make you fall behind more and more and more, because you're freaking out about a lot of things. All it would have taken right now, if you did it right now, your drone count again right now at 8 minutes. At 8 minutes, I'm just saying this right now. The fact that you only have 44 drones in 8 minutes is really bad. And I know some just died, but even then you were still underpaced. But 8 minutes, 44 drones is really, really, really far behind. That's super far behind. But to go from 44 drones to 80 drones, how many drones is that? That's 36. So to make 36 drones right now, if you did it right now, let's just say right now you had, and also let's look at the amount of larvae you have right now. You have 5 larvae sitting there. Yeah, okay, I thought that inject was popping up, but it already did. You have 5 larvae sitting there. So you need it now, instead of 36 drones, you need 31 drones. Okay? 31 drones, because you already have 5 larvae sitting there. It could be drones too. 31 drones. Each hatchery generates 2 larvae every 10 seconds. Because you have a generated larva once every 10 seconds, and you have a larva inject that averages out a larva every 10 seconds as well, because it gives you 3 every 30 seconds. So every minute that goes by now, you're going to get 12 larvae a minute, right? Because you get 6 larvae every 10 seconds, and there's 60 seconds in a minute, and you have injects, and you also have automated larvae. So that's 12 larvae a minute from each hatchery if you don't stop injecting and you don't stop spinning your larvae. That is 12, 24, 36 for main, natural, third. You could have made all of your drones within a minute. Within 1 minute, you could have made all of the fucking drones to 80 fucking drones from where you are now. It's not even that excessive if you actually were paced better earlier. It would have been like you'll need to make like 20, not fucking 40 or 36. Which could have been done in like 30 seconds. But what I'm saying is this guy gave you a drone window, and what do you do with that drone window? You built what died, you replaced what died, but then what do you immediately do right after? You make fucking units again. And you make a couple more drones. And you make units again. And then how much larvae do you have sitting there? And you make units again. See what I'm saying? Like, you keep making units again, and units again, and units again, and you're not getting attacked for a fucking long time because this guy just lost. He just lost his army again. So you totally had a drone window right there. And if you just ever use a drone window to get to that ideal saturation where then you can actually explode your army repeatedly all game. You're not making drones. Like, if you're making drones and lings and drones and lings and drones and lings all game, that's incorrect. What you want to do is you want to make drones. You're done making drones, and now you make lings, hydras, whatever, all game. And then all you do with your drones then is you maintain saturation by expanding, rotating, and having good saturation. That's it. It's not just rebuilding drones all game. The only time you ever rebuild drones is if, like, you build some buildings and you're like, oh, I'm gonna make 5 drones because I just made 2 gases, a hatchery, 1 spine, and 1 spore. That's 5 workers that just died because they just became buildings, so I'm gonna make 5 new ones. That's fine. But you're playing so fucking paranoid, and it's making you pace so fucking slow with everything. So you definitely need to take advantage of those drone windows a lot more And again, expansions of your opponent are drone windows. And when your opponent loses armies, those are drone windows. And if you just actually have efficient macro mechanics, like you're injecting well, you're spinning your larva well, boom, within a minute, you're done. It just takes within a minute. And you killed those battlecruisers already at this point, like 30 seconds ago. Or no, like a minute ago. What am I talking about? You killed them at like 8:15, 8:12. You killed them a minute ago. And you don't even get attacked until a minute from now. You get attacked around 10 minutes. And right now, again, is another moment when you could have been maxed. Because if you take advantage of drone windows, your economy does not look like this. Instead, it looks like 4,000 minerals, or like 3,500 minerals, and like 1,200 gas a minute. Because you have so much more drones mining your minerals for you, or mining your resources for you. And it gives you so much more money. And again, if you have good mechanics and good macro, like good injects and good larva spinning, you can then use that money to then max out super fast. And once you have control like that just once, you can retain control like that forever. So you're playing way too paranoid. You don't know what to expect. Which again, I feel like that takes experience, and if you don't really fully understand it yet, that's totally fine. I hope this specific game helps you get there further. But you have to know what your opponent's capable of, and your opponent's not capable of killing you at every second. That's not. Let's just say it like this. Your opponent is not capable of killing you at every second of the game, because if your opponent does things like expands, techs, he can't kill you all the time. He actually has limitations to his build. And it'll take time for you to realize what these limitations are. But once you start really feeling comfortable with it, like I said before, the lings you made initially for the 2-1-1, let's assume you didn't scout the gas like we talked about earlier, but the lings you made for a standard 2-1-1 were great. The first lings you made, that was his limitation was what you made there. He doesn't have enough to kill you. He has enough to harass you, and you made enough to counter his harass. That was wonderful. But then you freaked out and you went crazy on it, and you already started pacing yourself like shit. So you just got to really understand what the limitations are of Terran in the developing stages of the game, based on if they expand or not. And if you don't see expansions, and instead of seeing an expansion, you're like, oh, he's got mass production facilities. This dude's 2-base all in. Well, then you have to power mode your army, sure, because you're getting all in. Not once this game has this guy all in you at all. It's not once. This dude has fucking 4 bases already. This is not what I would call an all-in player. This is very late in the game. He's only at 113 supply at 11 minutes as well. This dude has not all-in you once. And you've played this game as if you were playing versus someone who's all-inning you repeatedly. Because you keep going excessive on the army when you don't need it. So you really need to pay attention to how fast your opponent expands through things like Overlord Scouts or Zergling Scouts. Just look for the expansions. Like, check his base. Again, good scout timers are the very first Overlord, a 4-minute Overlord, a 6-minute Overlord, and then periodic lings every now and again to just check the wall or check the bases. Those are great scouts. And if you can just see expansions, you're like, cool. Drone window. Alright, now from here, so that's the developing stage is kind of over. That's your core problem. I could reiterate it 1,000 times, but that's literally your biggest problem is your developing stages kind of fall apart. Now we'll talk about your pathing and your positioning. We'll kind of speed through this a bit faster because this replay analysis is ridiculously long at this point. And there's not much to be said now because here's the thing. You're going for Ling Hydra Bane. What your army should be doing is you should be just running his ass over, and then as soon as you have momentum on your side, because you run him over, you should be running his bases over with momentum swings in your favor. That's what should be happening with a Ling Bane Hydra style. And the fact that, you know, well, that's all it really is. So we'll see what you do here. A little bit of a misrallied units there. You just threw away a bunch of supply. You're kind of being hesitant as well. You want to make sure you definitely want to go when you set up a fight. You definitely want to go. Army compositionally, you want to have about 20 Hydras. You have 7. You want to have about 1/3 Bane, 2/3 Ling. So right now you have 19 Banes, 97 Lings, and 7 Hydras. I would say to make this army better, you'd want to have something like maybe 20 Hydras, like 70 Lings, and 35 Banes. That's really roughly what you want to have instead. 1/3 Hydra, or 1/3 Bane, 2/3 Ling out of your whole Ling count, and then about 20 Hydras. That's roughly what you want to have. It doesn't have to be perfect. You could have 77 Lings and 36 Banes. It's not exactly 1/3 to 2/3, but it's still close enough. it's going to get the job done. And that's what you're looking for. You want to have those rough estimates in your army. And again, it doesn't have to be exactly 20 Hydra, but it definitely needs to be more than 7. You could have 17. You could have 22. Not 7, though. 7's weak. It's very bad. And now, how long does it take you to now remax and momentum swing? Are you injecting your hatcheries? No. Your main has no queen at it. This base has no injecting going on it. This base has no injecting going on at it. You need to definitely fix your macro a lot. Because you have a momentum swing in your favor right now, and you should be able to remax if you have a bank. If you have a bank, there's no excuse for not remaxing. Especially also since the fact that you built a macro hatch, which I really like a lot. I like that you built a macro hatch. But you have no larva. You're not injecting anything, really. Like, this queen injected once, too. It's, like, not... there you go. You're doing some more. Definitely missing the beat, though, on your injects. Also, if you're going to inject hatcheries, if you make a macro hatch and you have a queen like this, make sure you always go inject, 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 inject. Don't just go inject, 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 and leave this open. The whole point of a macro hatch is that it allows you to make your queen expend energy on multiple hatcheries, not just one hatchery. So make sure you don't miss that. And also, you see all these creep spreading queens? At this point in time, you do not need 4 queens spreading creep. You already have an established creep spread. All you do now is you spread creep off of existing tumors, and you retain creep with a creep spreading queen. At this point in time, you know what should be happening? This queen is a creep spreading queen as well, because it's not even near the hatchery. It's like over here making tumors. This queen should be injecting that base. You already have a lot of tumors here. That's great. This queen over here could be making injects. Like 2 of these queens over here could be injecting this base and injecting this base. Like you could be, and like you could even take another queen and inject this hatchery. You could have like 8 injecting queens right now. Because if you had 1 queen making creep tumors, do you really need to have more tumors over here to spread creep faster? Not really. The only thing you got to do is every time he scans and kills your creep now, you replace it. So you push his army away. As you push him away, you bring that 1 queen over there and drop like 2 more tumors in the area that just got scanned out. Or maybe 3 tumors. Like 3 tumors in the radius of 1 scan is crazy good. That's plenty to replace that. You don't need to have 20 tumors in one spot, like all condensed in a little tight spot like this. 1 tumor, like the spacing of these tumors is plenty. That's great. So you don't need to have like 6 tumor queens anymore. You definitely need it early on, but you do not need it now. Like you already have the creep spread established. You just need to retain it and keep spreading it off of existing tumors. So your injects are definitely lacking right now, like hardcore. And because you're totally missing the momentum swing here. How long does it take you to remax? The fight ends mostly at like 14 minutes. 14 minutes, the fight's over. And how long does it take you after 14 minutes to remax here? Okay, so he's fighting you again at like 15 minutes, and you were at like 180 supply as that fight started, and then you lost a little bit and you remade a little bit. It took you a full minute at this point in the game, at the double, like, you know, like you're in the 15s, the teens of the minutes basically. You should have absurd high amounts of larva with this style. Absurdly high. You have like 2 queens injecting hatcheries, that's it. That is not enough. But at this point in the game, you should be able to remax, because that's how Ling Bane Hydra is supposed to be played. Momentum swings, kill shit. Momentum swings, kill shit. You don't just let the Terran get reestablished repeatedly because you take forever to max out. So you're missing the beat on that a lot. And then another fight kind of happens at like 15, 30, 15, 20, whatever. You just killed some more units. And again, at this point now, you're kind of, you know, you're chilling again. You're still not maxed. You have not maxed once this game yet. That's a big missed opportunity here. And the fact that you're making lurkers, I would ask why. You don't really need to make lurkers right now. It's not necessary. The only time I would ever tell you maybe you should make lurkers with this style is if you're playing against someone who goes crazy Widow Mines. Otherwise, it's kind of repetitive, redundant. You don't really need them. All it does too is it distracts you more and it makes your macro suck more. Because let's look at your macro again. This base, good job. This base, no injects. This base, it's starting to be injected, good job. This base, Like, what? How, also, why do you have so many queens now? Is my question. Why so many queens? How many queens do you have? You have 9 queens at this point, and I mean, you did send I guess you sent some of your queens back. Okay, I thought you just made more. At least you sent your queens back, but like the fact that you're overstacking injects here, this is not good. Definitely want to spread them out to hatcheries that don't have injects on them, maybe instead. But yeah, I like to at least have the idea, and then I would say you need a little bit more time invested maybe to upkeep of your base, because you have complete map control with this style. You have a lot of map control, but the fact that you have a bad income is not great. Like, you definitely maybe need like 10 more drones or so, like 8 more drones or something. These drones need to be fixed. These drones need to start being fixed. These drones need to be fixed. These drones, there's no drones here at all. There's barely any drones here at all. But again, that's fine. If you're undersaturated, I don't mind. It's just that if you're oversaturated, like if nothing's happening, that's bad. And then your other base over here, oversaturated. Definitely some neglect to your economy. Need to fix that shit a lot faster than you do. The concept here as well is kill bases and starve your Terran out. Starve the Terran opponent out. If you're playing a brute force Ling Bane Hydra style, kill the fucking bases. So the fact that these Banes just sat here, I know you might be thinking, I don't want to use them because lurkers are going to kill it. Just fucking kill the base. Just kill the base. Because the whole point is starve him out in every way possible and take base after base after base away from him. Don't just stand there and let BCs shoot your ass. Because you don't, like, you want to make sure the fights are over. You just kill base, kill base. Don't try to kill his army either. His army is a byproduct of what you kill when you kill his base. But you kill his base. Like, kill his base, rotate. Kill his base, rotate. Kill the base down here, rotate. Kill this base, rotate. You don't go for army, and then slowly kill bases. You starve his ass. That's how you play Ling Bane Hydra. And you remax, and you remax, and you remax, and you remax. Your remax that time looked a lot better. But it should be like that all the time. Notice how when you remax really fast, you just run his ass over if he ever pushes you. That's exactly what it should happen over and over and over. You want to keep him defensive, you want to spread your creep constantly, and you want to keep starving his ass. That's all you're supposed to do. Like the fact that you're maxed here and you're not doing anything, I would ask you why you're not doing anything. You're missing the beat on Ling Bane Hydra. I see that you're switching into Corruptors now, but my question to you would be, why are you going to switch Corruptors? Because this guy is very vulnerable. This is not the time to switch Corruptors. Now, if we're talking Platinum, if you're like, I'm just A-moving and he's not dying, yeah, that's fine. You can go Broodlord Corruptor then. But if your opponent has a lot of bases on the map like this, why would you go into a slow army? That's what I would ask you. Why would you actually switch your army composition into Broodlord with a slow pacing army when your opponent has bases everywhere? Because all you do if you do this is you open yourself up to counterattacks and you open yourself up to not killing bases very fast. What you should be doing instead is remaxing, popping a base off. Remaxing, popping a base. Remaxing, popping a base. Remaxing, popping a base. Banes, blow fucking planetaries up. That's totally fine. If you are more active about starving his ass, you're going to have a better chance here. But if you're going to go to a very slow moving death ball style army when your opponent has bases everywhere, you open yourself up to a lot of problems because your army is like a fucking snail going back and forth, like really slowly across the map. And it's not the time to do this. If you're going to make anything Hive Tech right now, you should actually have made Ultras right now. Because Ultras are fast, mobile, and can kill bases really quickly. Not Broodlords. He does not have a Death Ball, nor does he have a Turtley base setup. He is so exposed in every base. This is not the time to go Broodlord. If there was like planetaries everywhere and like sensor towers and like tanks everywhere, I'd be like, okay, yeah, go Broodlord. And if he was defending like one corner of the map and that was it, that's the time to go Broodlord. This is not the Broodlord time. Now, I'm not saying Broodlords are going to automatically lose you the game, but if you're playing a Master League game right now, you know what could happen right now? While you make Broodlord, this Terran player could just drop your base over here or something. He could just literally go to your base on the other side. He could just avoid you. And everything, I'm just going to let you know right now, almost every unit in the game is faster than a Broodlord. So Broodlords are going to be like, wait, stop killing everything. I'm coming. Ah, shit, everything's dying. It's not really what you want to have happen. It's really easy to fall apart as Zerg if you know, go Broods when you're not ready to go Broods. Against Terrans that are good. And like, look at this dude right now. Look at your army. Lurker, Broodlord, minimal Corruptor, minimal Hydra. What if your opponent did this? What if he dropped you with like 4 medevacs over here, like a Doom drop, and then 3 battlecruisers came over here? Because he's been making battlecruisers all game so far. Or what if some Vikings came over here? How would you not die? Like, all your Broodlords would die. You don't have enough anti-air to stop that from killing you. And then if it was like, for instance, if it was like BCs, let's say 3 BCs came over here. Yamato, auto attacks the Hydra down, and then he just kills your Broodlords and kills your Lurkers. And if you're over here with a big ass like invested army, maybe you kill 1 base, but then he drops and kills this base, and he kills this base, and then he kills this base, and then suddenly you're able to remake units to defend yourself, but now you've taken so much damage, and if that happens multiple times, you just throw your leads away. So Broodlords, this is again not the time to go Broods. Not the time for that. He doesn't have anything you need to break with Siege. And you're going Banelings too. You're overlapping shit way too much. Like the Banes overlap with the Lurkers. The Broodlords overlap with the Lurkers. You have all this like overlapping shit going on. Like units basically can have a job and you have them all doing the same thing. Good job using Lurkers this way. That was good. Nice job with the Lurker there. You've repositioned yourself in a way to... So your opponent's not pressuring you at all. He does not... I would say he does not know how to deal with Broodlords at all, which is fine. So this could happen. You know, you might play someone who doesn't know how to deal with this at all. But... And also he's fucking broke at this point too. His fights have been pretty poor throughout this game. But yeah, I would say something besides Broods would have made more sense here. Because again, Broods are slow as fuck at killing bases. They're only good at breaking sieges. And there you go. Now he's got Vikings, and now all your Broods are going to die. That's exactly what we're talking about. You're going way too redundant overkill on anti-ground. If we're going Broodlords, that is. Alright. Well, I hope... Again, so Broods, again, they would have made sense if you go Broodlord Corruptor versus someone who has, like, mass tanks. I'd be like, yeah, great job, great choice, good choice. Yeah, I like it. But you're playing someone who's going bio with mass control of the map still. He's got, like, literally 50% of the map himself. You would have had a much easier time. Okay, here's the thing, too. This is the thing. You're playing the game mostly the same way most people do, and I fucking disagree with it entirely, which is you keep trying to find his army to fight his army. Don't ever fucking look for his army when you're aggressively attacking him. Let it be a byproduct of what happens. Only fight his army when you are fighting on creep and he's in your base and you're defending. Defensive army killing is great. Aggressive army killing, avoid that shit. Kill his base. Kill his economy. Let him chase you around his base as he loses all of his money. Don't just go, where is your fucking army? Where are you? Let's fight. Don't do that. And that's kind of what I feel like you were doing a lot of this game too. That's also why I think you went Broodlords too, because you went, I want to fight his army. Because Broodlords are not going to go to the north side and the south side and the north side and the south side and the north side and the south side very fast. It's going to be like, hold on, give me 3 minutes. Okay, I'm here. Okay, hold on, give me another 3 minutes. Okay, I'm over there now. Hold on, give me 3 minutes. Okay, I'm back up here again. Like, they're slow as fuck. Super slow. So you don't, I would say that was not the time to go Broods, because why kill his army when he has so many expansions? You made Broods when he was on like 8 bases. And he didn't have a death ball either. He had little bio units and stuff like that and a couple BCs. That would have been a great time, like I said before, to go Ultra or just Ling Bane Hydra and just keep killing bases and bouncing around, killing bases. Stuff like that. But I hope this makes sense. Thanks for watching, guys. Good luck to you, Dead Baby Seal. Much love for submitting this. You did a good job overall. Definitely things you can fix. I definitely see a lot of ways you can improve as a player. But much love, man. Thanks for doing this. And all right.
Thanks, ViBE. Everything you said made sense. Take my third earlier. Don't fuck up my gases. Make more drones.
That's right.
Abuse my mobility and control.
That's right.
Thanks so much, my dude. Thumbs up.
Thank you, Dead Baby Sue, for the another 500 bits for this, and thanks again for doing a replay analysis. Much love, guys. I hope you found this informative yourself. But this is gonna do it for me for this one. So check out more videos if you liked it. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching, and good luck, everybody. And peace out. See you guys.